once you get all your wires strung out across the frame and through the rear end, you want to hang them over here. Now what we got to do, we got to separate these wires just like we did the front. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and read your wires. And the brown wires, both the brown wires are going to be for the park lights. What we want to do is go ahead, one wire goes on this side, and be careful before you string your wires. Make sure, because these two wires are actually connected into one wire that comes out of the car, and you don't want to cut your wire before that split. So one wire is going to stay over here, so we'll go ahead and cut that. The next wire, the other brown wire, you want to go ahead and run up through the brace of the vehicle that we installed in an earlier video, right next to the back end of the frame, and let it hang down. Then you have two yellow wires, and you have to read those thoroughly, because the one yellow wire is for your electric fuel pump. Now we won't be using that electric fuel pump, but we might want to hook something else up later. If you're not using the electric fuel pump, this is a good source for an extra hot wire, keyed hot wire that you can use, such as the fold down license plate bracket, or you know, just anything that you might want to use here. So what we'll do is we'll cut that right there, and we might actually use that in the car for something. That will actually be useful for an extra fuse in the vehicle itself. But right now we'll just leave it hanging down. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and pull that out, because the customer here, we don't even need it in the car. And what I'm doing, I'm showing you that you can actually use this for another fuse on something that you might want to use later. So let me get that wire out of the way. That way we got two wires left. There's only 4 wires to go back here. Okay, we got the right turn signal and the left turn signal. The yellow wire that you have left over is going to be the left rear turn. The green wire will be your right hand side. Run that through the channel exactly like you did your brown wire. That way it's hanging off over on the end. If you look over here, here's our 3 wires, exactly like the front of the vehicle. Okay, you got your yellow one, which will be the brightest side of your light. You got the red one, which will be for the dimmer light in your LEDs. So that will be for the park lights. And then you have your ground. Now, what I did with my ground wires, okay, is basically the same of what I did with the front. Everything that you do on the back of lights, you do basically the same thing on the front, the rear. And then all I have to do is hook up these 2 wires right here. I go over there, hook up those 2 wires, and the back of your car is done. Once we get our license plate frame with our license plate light in it, this will be our ground. We'll run a hot wire out. While I'm at it, while I'm wiring this up, I'll go ahead and tee off with a butt connector, so I'll have a hot wire coming out off of our park lights that I can hook up to the license plate light. Does that make sense, cameraman?
Yes.
Did you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Once you have everything wired up properly, just like I showed you on the front, if you follow the same procedures, you'll want to get your wire loom out. Go ahead and wire loom up your bare wires, get it all nice and clean. Take your insulated line clamps, clamp it down, and everything will look good. When you get ready to put in your fuel tank, what you'll want to do at that time is we'll go ahead and run the pink wire. We'll go ahead and get it ready. What we're going to do is we're going to run it across the rear end here so it's hanging down. At that time is when you'll want to hook up your fuel sensor gauge, okay? And don't forget, you need a ground on that fuel sensor gauge as well, okay? So you might ought to want to go ahead and get your ground ready somewhere on the frame, so when you put your tank in, you'll be able to hook all that up, slide your tank in, bolt it in, and it's all done. So that's the procedure of wiring everything up underneath the car. I know this has been a difficult situation here, and it's kind of hard to understand looking upside down, but now it's time to go inside the car. We're going to pull the wires through that we're not going to use, and we'll start wiring. Once I get all this done, I'll start wiring up the car, and we'll go from there. The inside of the car.